Welcome to the Efficient Private Clients Podcast. Today we're doing a special episode looking at the investment landscape, looking at a bit of pessimism, looking at a bit of hope, looking at a bit of fact and stats.
Yes, facts and stats.
What's actually happening, Francois? What's actually happened? And where do we have a little bit of maybe misleading information?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of clients that are unsettled about the recent market volatility, and correctly so. I think what we've seen since 2020, COVID, is a lot of uncertainty, a lot of volatility, and even 2018, you had the 2018 flash crash, end of 2018, last quarter of 2018, global markets were down, I think 15 or 20%. Then you had 2020 markets going down 40, 50%, depending on what you bought, of course, and then again in like 2022 or 2021, again 30, 40% down. So there's been a lot of volatility, and some of the clients, of course, remember, they started investing in this time.
Yes.
So now you're 3 years in, your portfolio is down 12, 15, 18, pick a number, and because markets are also down on those specific time frames. So this is something that I think investors have to start unfortunately getting used to, this extreme volatility, and also that the business cycle has extended.
Yes.
In the past, business cycles were anywhere between usually 5 to 6 years, actually 4 to 5, 6 years, I would say 4 to 6 years. The classic business cycle of creative destruction. Now, because of the intervention from large monetary authorities, the ECB, the Fed, the Japanese, the Bank of Japan, Bank of England, and all these big guys, and a lot of fiscal support, we've now created this superficial world.
Yes.
We've kept things superficially alive. They even call Japan the zombie economy.
Yes.
We've literally kept things alive for too long. And because of that, the business cycle has gone through a structural shift where the business cycle is no longer 4 to 6 years, but now 7 to 10 years, the normal business cycle. So we would usually say invest your money for 5 years, and on average you should get X.
Yes.
And now we're saying at least invest for at least 7 years to 10 years, because that's the new business cycle.
Yes.
And South African investors have seen this firsthand. If you have saving for retirement like we are, you would have seen that over the last 7 to 10 years, your portfolio hasn't really done anything.
Yeah.
In most cases,
if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're like under 45, I would say maybe even 50, your contributions have outweighed what you've actually gotten from appreciation on your assets.
Yes.
Because of all these different changes in the world, and also very importantly, specifically you're in a developed world like South Africa and you've been saving towards retirement money, our markets haven't been doing anything because sentiment was absolutely against the emerging world. You can now buy the same Chinese stocks that they cost 10 years ago.
Yes.
So they're actually discounted 10 years. So that's good if you're like 10 plus years away from retirement, because that means that you have been buying these quality companies that have continued to produce profits every year. You're buying them at a 10-year discount.
Yes.
This is the best special you'll ever have in your life. And well, you're definitely going to enjoy it if you have at least, like I'm saying, 10 years left, and if you're still saving into this market. I think you're going to be in a very, very fortunate position. The problem, however, is that clients don't have that context. We only see things through the lens, and we have recency bias. So we only think about what we've seen and felt and experienced over the last 2, 3, 5 years.
Yes.
And what I've seen in my statement the last quarter, and that just goes down and down and down and down. And then we lack the context to understand that there is a big shift happening globally. There is a shift away from the developed world to the emerging world. And what then should follow, it must happen. These are long-term cycles that repeat. For everything, there is a season, and for every season, there is a purpose. Ray Dalio writes a book where he looks into these cycles, these long-term cycles. 10, 20-year cycles are short-term cycles.
Yes.
In what we've seen, money, credit, and debt cycles, which are 120 to 150 years.
Yeah.
Then internal and external conflict cycles, which are 120 to 150 years. So these cycles change, these cycles cycle through, and there will be a shift back towards emerging markets. So what the best thing clients can do is to, of course, speak to their financial advisor and understand that I am still young, I still have 10 years plus to save towards retirement. Things are going to change. There is going to be a re-rating.
Yes.
And I think it's important to understand that South Africa is a very small player in the global world. And even in the emerging world, we're a very small player. We're a small open economy, so what that means is that when the shift happens from the developed world to the emerging world, that lifts the tide. And we're just a boat. We're just a dinghy boat
rise with it
on the great open ocean. So when the tide rises for emerging markets, we get lifted up with that.
We go with the flow.
We go with the flow. So structurally, there are a lot of problems in South Africa, which we are aware of. But that doesn't mean that our companies are going to be left behind, because our companies don't make their money in South Africa. 70% of the revenue is made outside of South Africa.
Yes.
So if there's a re-rating outside of South Africa, we get the advantage from that. So there is a lot of uncertainty, and I think the last year hasn't been really kind to investors. Actually, the last couple of years haven't been kind to investors, but I think it's important to have the right context.
Yes.
To see things really for what they are, to understand how we fit into everything else, and then to continue plowing into. And this, I think, is an important thing to understand for South Africans, I think, in general, and specifically if you are an investor in South Africa. Smart money, institutional money, private equity, hedge funds, large corporates have been buying South African companies on the cheap.
Yes.
So they come into South Africa, they buy the company, they take it off the JSE, they leverage it, and they make billions upon billions upon billions. Because South Africans, we get upset, short-termism, we don't want to invest in those companies, valuations fall down, these large institutions come in, private equity firms, they grab them up for cents. I mean, Pioneer being bought by Pepsi, even Efficient Group, a large portion of our company was bought by Apex, and the list literally just goes on. So smart money is doing exactly that. Smart money is looking past the short-term noise and buying into the long-term trend. Because what smart money does is, smart money is, I like using the word hope, but I understand it has like certain philosophical overtones as well. But hope is an active ingredient. So pessimism lives with a hand like this. Pessimism doesn't take responsibility, and pessimism doesn't take action. Pessimism wants to live off something. Pessimism wants to it leeches. It leeches, as an example. And there are many pessimists in South Africa who don't take ownership, who don't take action. Hope is something that says that I will do, I will change. Hope is something that says that, so SAA is folding, maybe this is a good time to enter the market. And that's why, I mean, Fly Sapphire has just absolutely been dominating the market now, because the government couldn't. Private security, police failed us, so what did private security do? They just stepped in and made billions upon billions upon billions.
So more of them than we have police officers.
Exactly, we literally do. So what we see happening, at least in the next 4 or 5 years, is more of the same in terms of politics, more of the same in terms of policies, a deterioration in politics and policies, which creates the exact ripe environment for hopeful people to apply their hands to the plow, to do what the hand finds to do, to take ownership, to take action, and to work what they can, and to create tremendous amounts of value. And that's why I really bring in the private equity argument as well, because it's not just Pollyannish. Pollyannish is being super optimistic, too optimistic, blindly optimistic. Where hopeful people aren't blindly optimistic. And if I bring a message like that, I'm not being blindly optimistic. I'm telling you, really smart money is investing billions into companies into South Africa, which South Africans don't want to invest in, and reaping the long-term benefits from that. So I think 4 or 5 years more or less of the same, a lot of pain. I think you really have to be clever about how you position yourself as an employee in South Africa. You have to upskill yourself. And we spend a lot of time in the company as well, really upskilling ourselves and really making sure that we have a product and a service that clients want, that can help them facilitate. We're global investment specialists. We help you take your money, protect it, take it offshore, restructure your firm through experts that we get on board as well. So really make sure that you can qualify your product, upskill yourself, that you'll be in high demand. And then also something that I think is important about hope, about the individual freedom, individual expression, is that you have to vote. That's how you add your weight to the change that is needed. If you're an investor, be patient.
Yes.
Like I'm saying, if you're younger than 55, you are buying at the cheap. You'll never in your life probably buy companies as cheap as you are buying them now. Buying local companies as cheap as you are now. If you're a little bit older, once again, you're in. I understand on the equity side, you probably would have lost out.
Yes.
It's bad that the Reserve Bank capped you at only taking 30% of your money offshore for the last 15 years, because you really would have earned a lot more offshore. But now fixed income is giving you a very unique opportunity.
Yes.
Retail government bond gives you like 10.6%. So that's something that we are not really going to enjoy. I'm buying equity. I can't buy the fixed income. You can enjoy the 10.6% and then build now, because remember, you have some assets.
Yes.
You're 55 or 60, you can get good returns. And then when we've seen the change, that hope, that action will instill, then in 5-10 years from now, when you're 60, 65, then you can once again, with this income, protected income, now make very clever allocations as well. So I think the tide is lifting, the tide is changing. It's not going to happen tomorrow. I think it's a longer term thing. We have time, fortunately. We have the right people, but we need people that are willing to continue taking action, to continue doing the job that government just can't do.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we're the boat rowing towards the perfect storm, and I hope that everyone will join us as we rise.
Exactly.